Hare Krishna. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for visiting. I hope you enjoyed the video, Is Iskcon Insulting Hinduism?, in which I presented the objections raised by the FHA, Federation of Hindu Association, to the articles presented by Back to Godhead magazine in 1995, where the supremacy of Lord Krishna was explained in comparison to the various demigods in their articles, The Glories of the Demigods. The objections were raised and a clear and concise explanation and reply was given by Jayadvaita Swami. Now I present part 2, which will be divided into many parts, so please visit daily, from the Cambridge University Hindu Society, in which Geeta Sethia gives her interpretations and understanding of the Bhagavad Gita and her objections to how Iskcon has given its interpretation. Here we will also see Jayadvaita Swami's reply, and I hope you enjoyed. This letter is in response to your article, Is Back to God an Offender? That's the title. We gave the exchange between the Federation of Hindu Association, FHA, and BTG. As a young Hindu living in Britain, where the media consistently portrays the religion as fanatical, it is upsetting when it seems that Hindu sects such as Iskcon, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, for whom I have great regard and respect, do propound such rigid views which are in direct opposition to the universal tolerance of the Sanatana Dharma. When these intolerant views are propagated within the body of this eternal faith, it is even more distressing and worrying. I, myself, am a Krishna Bhakta, and I believe that Krishna as a supreme Godhead who takes on different manifestations, is called by different names, but is essentially the same one true Brahman. However, I also truly believe that those devotees who call him Allah, Jesus, Jehovah, etc., and certainly those who call him Shiva or Brahma, worship one and the same God. Thus, in quote in Gita 9:23, Yapi anya devata bhakta yajanti shraddhavam vita tepi mam eva kunteya yajanti avedhi purvakam. In support of your argument, I believe you are grossly misinterpreting what the Lord says here. I hasten to stress that I myself am in my 3rd year of Sanskrit degree, and so I am not talking without foundation. I give here another translation of this verse. Kunteya, even those devotees who, with endowed faith, worship other gods with some interested motive, worship me alone, though with a mistaken approach. Now I, upon reading this, come to an entirely different conclusion to yours. To me, when Krishna says the approach is mistaken, he means it is mistaken to consider your chosen deity as its only supreme and the others as inferior. For example, if the devotee worships Shiva and does not accept Krishna as one and the same, when they are one in reality, then they are mistaken. I disagree vehemently with, for example, those Christians who believe Jesus is the Son of God and the only way, and worshippers of other faiths are misled, ignorant, and damned. God is one, and he is not so petty as you seem to imply, that if you called him Shiva with full faith and devotion, while at the same time accepting that others call him Krishna, etc., he would be displeased. Indeed, in the Ramcharitmanas, Ram says, Shiva pada kamala jihin rati nahin, Ramahi te sapanehan na sahanihin. He who has no devotion for the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, even in his dreams will not be tolerated by Lord Ram. When Krishna talks of me, he is speaking of the supreme consciousness not limited by name or form. Krishna even states in the Gita, not that Shiva is inferior, but in fact, Rudram Shankarashcham Chasmi. Of all the Rudras, I am Shiva. What sets Sanatana Dharma apart from other religions is that it truly believes they are all equal. The Vedas, whilst referring to 300 million gods, are referring to the infinitude of the divine and his forms, not that they are really separate individual devas. The same Veda states, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vedanti. Truth is one, but learned men express it in different ways. Secondly, it is mistaken, not wrong, which is too strong of a word, to worship deities such as Lakshmi only in their limited forms, in the latter case as the bestower of wealth, thinking that that is the ultimate true reality, spirituality. That devotee looking at God in a limited form will only experience God in a limited way, for example, wealth and prosperity, and not attain oneness with Him. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhayan shritam ichyati tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadami aham. Whatever celestial form a devotee, craving for some worldly object, chooses to worship with reverence, I stabilize the faith of that particular devotee in that very form. But that must be the individual's choice. And I believe it is a much graver sin to consider or proclaim him a sinner or an offender. If I may recount one of my favorite stories, Tulsi Das Ji, the great bhakta of Sri Ram, who you accept as an incarnation of Vishnu to be equal to Krishna, did not consider Kana, or Krishna, to be of equal prominence to his Lord Ram. He refused even to enter a temple where the idol was worshipped, that was other than Raghava, or Ram. But one day, for one reason or another, he was forced to enter a temple dedicated to Madhava. Lo and behold, what did he see? When he turned his eyes to the Murti deity, he saw Ram, and thus he understood, Lord, I perceived you in my narrow fashion as Ram, but you are beyond form, beyond limitations. You are Ram, you are Krishna, you are Shiva, you are all. My preferred form of Brahman is Krishna. When I buy pictures, I consistently discard representations of other deities and always choose that are of my Kanaya, as some Iskcon devotee who came to Cambridge witnessed. When I sing of Ram and Krishna. When I pray to Krishna. I believe it is very conducive for imperfect human beings to have an Ishta Dev, chosen deity, whom they see as supreme Godhead. But Brahman is not imperfect. Sanatana Dharma cannot be anything but all-encompassing. The various Puranas are written from the point of view of the devotee, but simply because they are not all-encompassing, not universal in outlook, this does not mean that Sanatana Dharma is not. This is why Krishna states categorically in the Gita, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajami aham. Mam ma vartamanam vrantante manusya partha sarvasa. O Partha, however so men seek me, even so do I approach them, for all men follow my path in every way. Yours sincerely, R.T. Sethia, President of Cambridge University Hindu Society, Cambridge, United Kingdom. Thank you for your kind words of respect for Iskcon, and I'm glad to know that you have chosen Krishna as the deity you most prefer. Sanatana Dharma is indeed all-encompassing, for it offers every human being an opportunity to make further progress and at last attain perfection. Yet amongst the followers of Sanatana Dharma there are two schools, with contrasting views. The contrast is not between the inflexibility rigid and the universally tolerant, but rather between the impersonalist and the personalist. Both schools accept that the Supreme has both a personal and an impersonal aspect. The question to be settled is how best to regard these two different aspects of the Supreme. The impersonalists agree to the worship of any god because in their view these gods are but stepping stones to a higher reality, the impersonal absolute or the impersonal Brahman. According to this view, only the impersonal absolute is real, and all else, even the gods themselves, must ultimately be seen as illusory and therefore given up. According to this view, one may worship Lord Krishna or any other god, but ultimately one must understand that Krishna, as well as other gods, merely represent a higher impersonal reality. Ultimately, the personal identity of Krishna is but an illusion. The personalists, on the other hand, regard realization of the impersonal absolute as but a partial, incomplete understanding of the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. According to this view, one must go still further beyond the impersonal absolute to recognize the eternal nature of Lord Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, and other transcendental personal features.